You know what you need to do. You've read the books, listened to the podcasts, maybe even journaled about your patterns. You understand why you procrastinate, why you sabotage yourself, why certain triggers send you spiraling. You can explain your behavior better than most people can explain theirs, and yet somehow that understanding doesn't stop it from happening again. You scroll when you said you wouldn't. You skip the workout you planned. You stay up late despite knowing exactly how tomorrow will feel. It's not ignorance. It's not laziness. It's something far more unsettling. You're watching yourself make decisions you don't agree with, in real time, fully aware of what's happening. Here's the uncomfortable truth nobody wants to say out loud. Intelligence doesn't control behavior. It observes it. It narrates it. It justifies it after the fact. But it doesn't run the show. Somewhere beneath all that insight, beneath all that self-awareness, there's another system making calls. And that system, it doesn't care how smart you are. If you've ever felt like a passenger in your own mind, this isn't about willpower. It's about something you were never taught to see. There's this idea we all kind of absorbed without questioning it. Smart people control themselves. Disciplined people don't mess up. If you understand your patterns, you should be able to fix them. And when that doesn't happen, when you keep falling short despite knowing better, the conclusion feels obvious. Something's broken in you. But that's not how any of this actually works. Your brain isn't some corporate ladder where logic sits at the top barking orders and everything else salutes. It's messier than that. More like a crowded room where different parts of you are all trying to get a word in. And most of them have been around a lot longer than your ability to reason through a problem. Some of them don't even care about your 5-year plan. They care about whether you feel safe right now, whether you have enough energy, whether this moment feels threatening or stable. So no, this isn't another video about discipline. It's not about hacking your morning routine or white-knuckling your way through temptation. It's about seeing what's really happening when you lose control and who's actually making the call. Once you get that, everything shifts. You stop trying to win a fight that was never supposed to be a fight. If this lands, let me know in the comments. You're in the right place. Let's start where it actually begins. Intelligence is phenomenal at one thing, making sense of what already happened. You can look back at your day, your week, your last relationship, and construct a perfectly coherent story about why things went the way they did. You can trace the pattern back to childhood if you want. You can name the cognitive bias. You can even predict with unsettling accuracy what you'll probably do next time. And then next time comes, and you do it anyway. That's because intelligence lives in the explaining part of your brain, not the deciding part. It's the narrator, not the director. It watches the movie and writes the commentary, but it's not choosing what scenes get filmed. When you're about to eat the thing you said you wouldn't, check your phone for the 100th time, or bail on the plan you were excited about yesterday, your prefrontal cortex, the part that knows better, is right there taking notes. It sees it happening. It might even protest a little, but it's not in charge. The systems that actually run your behavior are older, faster, and a hell of a lot less interested in your long-term goals. They care about now, about whether this moment feels safe, whether your energy is stable, whether there's a threat they need to respond to. And they don't wait for permission. By the time your intelligent mind catches up and says, "Wait, why did I just do that?" the decision's already been made. So if you've spent years thinking, "I know exactly why I do this, so why can't I stop?" That's why. Knowing and controlling are two completely different systems. One talks, the other acts, and the one that acts, it doesn't speak your language. So if intelligence isn't running the show, what is? Your body, your nervous system, the part of you that's been keeping humans alive long before anyone invented calendars or to-do lists. It's not dramatic, it's not mystical. It's just biology doing what it's always done. Scanning for danger, managing resources, keeping you functional. And when it detects something that feels like a threat to your internal stability, it overrides everything else, including your plans. Here's what that looks like in real life. You sit down to work on something important. Your brain knows it matters, but your body reads the situation differently. It notices the tension in your chest, the slight quickening of your breath, the feeling that's hard to name, but definitely uncomfortable. To your nervous system, that discomfort registers as danger. Not life or death danger, but enough to trip the same ancient wiring that kept your ancestors from walking into dark caves. So it offers you an exit, a distraction, a way to regulate that feeling right now. And you take it, not because you're weak, because your system prioritized feeling safe over feeling productive. It made the call before you even realized there was a decision to make. Here's the wild part. This happens in about 200 milliseconds. That's how long it takes your nervous system to scan a situation, flag it as uncomfortable, and start steering you somewhere else. Your conscious mind, the part that's trying to stay disciplined, takes about half a second just to become aware something's happening. And this is why it never feels dramatic. It feels ordinary. By then, your hand's already reaching for your phone, your body already shifted away from the task. The impulse is already in motion. So when people say just push through it, they're asking you to catch up to a system that's already 3 steps ahead. It's not laziness, it's latency. Your survival wiring runs faster than your self-control can even load. And the thing it's optimizing for isn't your goals. It's whether this exact moment feels stable enough to stay in. If it doesn't, you're gone before you even knew you were deciding. Now, here's where it gets messy for smart people. Because if you're intelligent, your default move when something feels hard is to think about it more. Analyze it, map out all the scenarios, figure out exactly what could go wrong and how to avoid it. It feels productive. It feels like preparation. But what it actually does is flood your system with more signals to worry about. Every time you mentally simulate a bad outcome, your body treats it like a small rehearsal of that outcome. You open the email draft and suddenly your mind runs a 10-second film. The reply, the judgment, the awkwardness. Your body reacts to the film, not the email. Your heart rate shifts. Your breathing changes. Stress hormones tick up just enough to keep you on edge. You're not solving the problem by thinking through it. You're activating the same threat response you'd get if the problem was actually happening. And the more you loop on it, the more your nervous system starts treating the task itself as the danger. This is the trap intelligent people fall into constantly. You think you're getting ready, you think you're being thorough, but your body's reading it as, this situation is threatening enough that we need to keep running scenarios. So by the time you're done thinking, you're too activated to actually do the thing. The overthinking didn't prepare you, it exhausted you. There's a reason why people who don't overthink it sometimes perform better. It's not that they're less capable, it's that they're not preloading their system with emotional weight before they even start. They're not turning a neutral task into a gauntlet their body has to survive. Thinking can clarify, but past a certain point, it just amplifies. And the part of you trying to stay calm, it's drowning in the noise you keep generating, which raises a pretty uncomfortable question. Is your mind protecting you, or is it the thing you need protection from? So naturally, when you realize your mind is working against you, the instinct is to fight it, shut it down, overpower the impulse, just decide harder. And for a while, it might even work. You white-knuckle your way through a week, maybe 2. You feel like you're finally in control. Then one random Tuesday, it all falls apart. You're back where you started, except now you also feel like a failure. Here's what's happening under the surface. When you try to suppress an impulse, you're essentially telling your brain, don't think about this, which means you have to keep checking whether you're still not thinking about it. And every time you check, you're activating the exact thing you're trying to avoid. It's like trying not to think about a white bear. The effort to resist becomes the thing that keeps it alive. There's actual research on this. It's called ironic process theory, but you don't need the terminology to know it's real. You've lived it. The diet that made you obsess over food. The promise to stop checking your ex's profile that made you check twice as much. the vow to stay calm that left you more on edge than before. Suppression doesn't erase the impulse. It turns it into a background hum that gets louder the harder you try to ignore it. And your body? It reads all that effort as stress, as something that needs more energy, more vigilance, more control. So it cranks up the intensity of the very thing you're trying to shut down. You end up in a feedback loop where fighting makes the problem stronger. Not because you're doing it wrong, because fighting is the problem. The system doesn't respond to force. It responds to pressure by pushing back harder. So if control through dominance isn't the answer, what is? Real control doesn't look like control. It's quieter than that. It's not about overpowering the parts of you that resist. It's about getting them all pointing in the same direction. And that's a completely different game. Think about the last time something felt easy. Not because you forced it, but because it just flowed. You weren't fighting yourself. Your body wasn't sending distress signals. Your mind wasn't generating 1,000 reasons to stop. Everything inside you was synchronized. That's not discipline, that's alignment. And it only happens when the different systems inside you agree that this is safe, worthwhile, and sustainable. Most people try to control from the top down. They set a goal, make a plan, and then try to drag the rest of themselves along for the ride. But your nervous system doesn't take orders, it takes cues. So alignment is simply reducing the cost of the right action and increasing the cost of the old escape. It's reading your environment, your energy levels, your emotional state, the identity you've been living in. If any of those things say, "This doesn't fit," you're going to hit resistance. Not because you lack willpower, but because the system sees a mismatch. So the shift isn't about trying harder. It's about building conditions where the action you want feels congruent with who you are and how you're wired. That means your habits, your environment, your rhythms, even the story you tell yourself about what's possible. They all need to support the same outcome. When they do, you're not wrestling with yourself anymore. You're being pulled forward by something that feels more natural than forced. This is why some changes stick and others don't. It's not about motivation. It's about whether all the parts of you are moving together or fighting for control. But here's the part that breaks people. You finally get aligned. Things start clicking. You're showing up, making progress, feeling different. And then, out of nowhere, you tank it. You skip the thing that's been working. You pick a fight. You go back to the old pattern you swore you were done with, and you have no idea why. This isn't weakness. It's your system detecting a threat you didn't see coming. Because when you start to change for real, you're not just altering behavior, you're shifting identity. An identity change, even positive identity change, trips every alarm your nervous system has. You're becoming someone unfamiliar, someone who might be visible, who might be expected to keep showing up, who might fail publicly instead of privately. That feels dangerous. Your system has spent years learning that the old version of you is survivable. It knows that territory. It's mapped the risks. But this new person, unknown, and unknown to a survival system reads as unsafe. So it pulls you back, not to punish you, to protect you from what it perceives as exposure to unpredictable outcomes. This is why sabotage shows up right when you're on the edge of real change. It's not bad timing, it's your nervous system trying to stabilize you back into something recognizable. The version of you that was struggling might have been uncomfortable, but at least it was predictable. This new version, it doesn't have a track record yet. And without proof that it's safe, your system defaults to what it knows. So the question isn't why you sabotage success. It's whether you can recognize the sabotage for what it is, an outdated defense against a version of you that your system hasn't learned to trust yet. So if traditional intelligence can't regulate this, what can? There's another kind of intelligence most people never develop because no one ever teaches it. It doesn't show up on tests. It's not something you read about in books. It's the ability to sense what's happening inside you before it becomes a decision you regret. Some people call it emotional intelligence, but that undersells it. This is deeper. It's the capacity to notice when your chest tightens, when your breathing shallows, when your body starts leaning toward an exit before your mind even registers discomfort. It's recognizing that the urge to scroll isn't about the content. It's about discharge. The need to pick a fight isn't about the topic. It's about releasing pressure you didn't know was building. This kind of intelligence isn't intellectual. It's somatic. It's body-level awareness that lets you catch the early signals of dysregulation before they hijack your behavior. And the crazy part, it's trainable. You can get better at feeling the edges of your window, the point where you're still present versus the point where you've already checked out. You can learn to identify what safety feels like in your body, not just in your thoughts. Most people spend their entire lives thinking their way through emotional states. They try to logic themselves out of anxiety, convince themselves out of frustration, analyze their way past discomfort. But emotions don't live in your head, they live in your body, and until you learn to meet them there, you're trying to solve the wrong problem with the wrong tool. This intelligence, the ability to stay present with what you feel without immediately reacting to it, is the foundation of every sustainable change you'll ever make. Without it, you're just cycling through strategies that all miss the point. So what does it actually look like when this starts working? It's not dramatic. You're not suddenly a different person. You don't wake up fixed, but something shifts. You're about to do the thing you always do, reach for the distraction, bail on the commitment, fall into the familiar loop. And this time, there's a pause, not a big one, just a beat. A moment where you notice what's happening before it fully happens. And in that moment, you have a choice you didn't have before. Not because you've gained some superhuman willpower, but because you're finally present for the decision instead of watching it happen from 3 steps behind. You feel the discomfort. You recognize the pull. And instead of fighting it or following it, you just stay there with it for a second. You let it exist without having to fix it or escape it. That's when control stops being something you force and starts being something that emerges. It's not about crushing the impulse. It's about creating enough space between the trigger and the reaction that you can choose what happens next. And the more you practice that pause, the more your system learns that discomfort doesn't have to mean danger. That you can feel something uncomfortable and still be safe. That staying present is an option, not a threat. This is how real change happens. Not through big declarations or perfect streaks, but through small moments where you respond differently, where you stop abandoning yourself the second things feel hard, where you show up even when it's messy, not because you have to, but because you've learned how. It's not about never struggling again. It's about being capable of staying with yourself when you do. And once that becomes possible, everything you've been trying to control starts to fall into place. Not because you conquered your mind, because you finally learned how to work with it. You've been blaming your intelligence for not being enough, when intelligence was never the tool for this job. It can explain, it can predict, it can build a beautiful story about why you do what you do, but it can't regulate the system that's actually driving the wheel in real time. That system speaks in tension, breath, fatigue, urgency, numbness. And when you don't know how to read that language, you end up living 3 steps behind yourself, always reacting to choices you didn't consciously make. The shift isn't control your mind. It's learn the conditions under which your mind stops turning everything into a threat. Learn what your nervous system calls safety. Learn how to notice the first half second before the drift, before the exit, before the autopilot locks in. Because once you can feel the moment that control gets taken from you, you finally have a way to get it back, not through force, through presence, through alignment, through proof, small, repeated proof, that discomfort isn't danger and that you don't have to abandon yourself to survive it. So if you're intelligent and still stuck, don't make that mean you're broken. It just means nobody gave you the manual. And now you have a different target. Not your discipline, not your motivation, not your IQ, your regulation. That's where control actually lives. If this made something click, Tell me what your silent hijack looks like. Fatigue, fog, overthinking, drifting, or numbness. I read every comment. And if you know someone who keeps saying, "I understand myself, but I still can't change," send them this. Not as advice, as relief. This is Mindern. We don't teach you to dominate your mind. We teach you how to stop being dominated by what you never learned to notice.